So there we go. All right, we're looking at the homework where we had to move these letters, right? We had to move the letters to line up and be here in the first quadrant. Okay, the first quadrant is where they have to end up. And the type of, the type of tools that we're going to use for this are going to be a translation of X and Y. It can be a rotation, 90 degrees, 180 or 270. And we're going to have a reflection across x-axis. We can do a y-axis. We can even do y is equal to x, which is more confusing. But here are all of the options. So we need to get, the L over here, the O up here, the V over here. So I think that, there's a bunch of ways that you can approach it. There's a bunch of different options that would totally work, which is always an interesting situation. But let's go ahead and let's move this O up. Okay, so what I want to do is make a little anchor point. I'm going to say that anchor point right there, because that includes the O. This is like the rectangle that has the O. And I want to move that so that it's right here. It's just moving it straight up, right? So if I move it, the pre-image, the image is going to end up here, and then I'll be able to put my L, I'll be able to put my V, so it'll all work out. Okay. So essentially what we're doing is we're moving this straight up. The anchor point is going to move up. So for O, my translation is going to be 0 side to side, because I don't need to move it over and up. I just need to move it up. And then how far up do we need to move it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm going to put that it was a translation of 0, 8 for the letter O. And then I'm going to put the prime values or the prime images up here. It's 4 high. So we're going to go here. All right. So it's in red where it's going to end up. E isn't going to move. We're going to leave E right there. We only had to spell it up in the first quadrant. So since E was up there, I'm going to go ahead and leave E. I'm going to leave the E. Let me autofocus this real quick, guys. All right. So I'm going to leave the E up there. Okay. So what other letter do we need to move? What's next? Somebody tell me what to do. What should I do next? What should I move? What letter should I move? What do you think? Yeah, let's do the V. The V is the hardest one, right? The V is the hardest one because it's a rotation. Rotations are hard to see. But look, the V is facing down. If I rotate it around 180 degrees, it's going to be facing up. Now, you might ask, well, how do I know where it's going to go? Here's how you know. Go from the origin and make a little triangle here to an anchor point. Here's my anchor point. You see? So it's really just a triangle. Okay. Now that triangle, when I rotate it here, it faced down. If I kept rotating it, it would face to the right. The length side, this would face to the right. Okay. So it's going to be up here in this quadrant, but where is it going to be? This is how we find out. Look, it's 1, 2. So it's going to go up 1, 2, and then it's over what? 1, 2, 3, 4, and like a half. 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half. Okay. Because I used the anchor point at the bottom of the V, and that ended up, it's right in the middle. Okay. So you see here, this triangle, if you set it up that way, where we're looking at, well, it was a 2 by 4. So as long as I make the triangle the mirror image up there as I rotate it, then I know where it's going to end up. So it's going to end up here. It's going to be right here. And this one, the love was kind of spread out weird. It ends up being like that. So the letters weren't all perfectly spaced. And that might be something that threw you off a little bit. But the main thing for rotations is you want to keep in mind that you can make a triangle where it is and where it's going to go, and that'll help you rotate it. Okay? So that's a good one. Let's go ahead and write what we did. We did a rotation of 180 degrees, and we did it to the V. And look, I'm even gonna do what the E did. I'm gonna say E was 0, 0. We didn't even move it. We didn't move it. You didn't have to put that, but I put it there. Okay. So what do we have to do to the L? What do we have to do to the L? Because it's already facing this way. It's already facing to the right. That's the configuration for an L. So what should we do to get it in the right place? What do you think? Which one of our tools? There you go, Isabel. Perfect. We're going to translate it. All we have to do is move it. Okay. So I'm going to use this as my anchor point. I'm going to use the top of the L. And I think if I end up with the top of the L over here, right? If I move the top of the L, everything else is going to move with it. And then I'll end up with the L like right in this space. It'll be spaced a little weird, but that looks better, I think. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to translate the L to the right. How many spaces? Positive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's positive because remember all the positive values to the right, negatives to the left. So positive 6. And then how far up and down do we need to move it? We don't need to move it anywhere. It's already aligned up, right? So we don't have to move it up or down. Remember that this is talking about how far left to right with the X, and the Y is how far up and down. Okay? So we rotate, or excuse me, we translate the L 6 to the right, positive 6, and 0 up and down, and we end up with it right here. Okay. And that's love. And this is how we did it. This is all you have to show. We didn't have to do table method for all the points involved. Okay. Now this right here is related to what the assignment I'll give out at your next class. I'm going to be doing something like this, where you have to spell out your full name in the quadrant 1 and 2 if needed, using translations, reflection, and rotations. List the transformations for each letter. And these are all of the starting points for A through Z. So you're going to have all these letters set up for you in the nice, 2x2 shaped letters, so easy to move. And you're going to be translating, rotating, reflecting. And you have to use translations, reflections, and rotations. Now, you might just decide to use translations for most of them and do a couple of reflections and rotations. That's fine. But you're going to have to move them all and spell out, I'd be Zachary David Macias. Okay, so that's coming up. It is related to this. So if you're still confused about this, it's not the last time we'll see it. So I need you to ask more questions right now. Do you want me to do another word right here? What do you think? Let me know, because we only have 10 minutes. What you think? What should I do? You want to see another word? What should we do? Sure. Thanks. I could do the hardest one. Want me to do this one? The other ones were just, O was rotated. This one was moving U up. Not too bad. Okay, so yeah, let's do this one down here, because people also, you could have gotten different values, different direction for how you figured this one out. Very possible. Okay, so let's look real close at it. All right, what was one word, somebody that solved this, what was one word that you used? What was one word that you found? Because, you could write Mets. You can make this, stem. You can make it sweat, but that's not really how you spell it. Okay, but I was thinking about the word west. West. What? Oh, yeah, I go to West Campus. Yeah, west. So this isn't an M. This is a W. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make a little box around the M, the W. I'm going to make a little anchor point right there. Because if I look at that as my anchor point, then I can make a little triangle to show where that anchor point is. You see? It's down 3 and over 1. So if I rotate 180 degrees, it's going to be up 3 and over 1. You see how these triangles, they're just flipped? It's like a propeller, right? If you rotate it 180 degrees, it would end up there. So this anchor point is going to end up here, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and draw it then. It's going to be a W like that. You see how that would rotate around? Visualize it. Actually, you don't have to visualize it. Watch this. It rotates, it rotates, it rotates, it rotates, it rotates. It makes a W. He was right. Rotate, 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 rotate. And we know that that's true. So you can even rotate your paper. All right, let's write down what we did. This was a rotation of 180 degrees of the letter W. Awesome. That wasn't so hard. This isn't so much to write out. Okay. All right, we got our first one up here. Now, how about we just move this E up? Here is my anchor point, and I want that anchor point to be right there. So I need to move it up to that point. Okay. So if I'm just moving it up, then I'm doing a translation, T. And we're talking about an X and a Y. How far side to side, left to right, and how far up and down. Now, was there a left or right movement? Let's see. Did we have to move it over the right one, then up? No. There was no left to right movement, so we put a 0. And how far up did we have to go? 1, a 2, a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cookies. 8. And we did that to the letter E. Done. Yeah. So where does that end up? Oh, I should have done it in red. Here's our W. Here's our E. All right, we got WE. Let's look for the S. The S is way over here. This S is way over here. Actually, you know what? I want to get this T dealt with. So it's a T down here. And I want to get the T set so I know where to put that S. Because you can't be spacing it wrong. Okay, here's my anchor. I want that anchor to be up here. Somebody tell me how we can accomplish that. It looks kind of nice that it's exactly 3 from the x-axis and 3 from the x-axis. Somebody tell me. I don't think we're going to translate it because then it would be upside down. So what do we need to do? What do we need to do in order? Nice, Jacqueline. Nice. So Jacqueline says reflection. And what axis are we going to reflect it across? Okay. Are we going to reflect it across the y-axis so it ends up over here upside down? Reflect across, well, that would be over here. So watch this. Well, if I reflect it across the y-axis, it ends up on this side. You see? It would be flipped over here. So instead of the y-axis, which one should we do? We want to do what? Right? And it might be a little confusing because it does, it does kind of move up and down, but we accomplish that by reflecting it across this axis. Good catch, you caught yourself. Okay? So we're going to reflect it across this axis. And the way you know, you can look and see, well, this is 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3 above it. And it's 2 wide about like that. All right. So what we did was we did a reflection across the x-axis. And we did that to the letter T. Okay. All right, now we have the S to get over in the right spot. I'm going to go ahead and anchor right here. You see? As long as I anchor it and figure out where I want to go, then I could figure out where I want to go. I'm going to put that anchor over to this spot. You see, that is going to go and be over there. Okay. So what I did here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a translation. And do we have left to right? Or up or down? What kind of movements do we have? Let's see. We got to move this over here. It looks like it's aligned, so it's just moving to the left. It's not moving up or down. It doesn't have to move up or down. Okay. So if I move over, I go over +1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Over +8. None. No up or down. And this was for S. And we got west. Nice. Let's put it in here and be done. Okay, so this is where the S went. You see how it's kind of, the anchor point was the top right corner, anchor point's top right corner. So as long as you keep in mind what part of the letter you're moving, then you get it. You find it. Okay, those are 2 pretty good examples. Do we need to do another one? In fact, I think I'm just going to do another one in the short amount of time I have here, okay? So the last thing we had to do was... let's look at number 2 in the other homework, okay? So number 2 for the 5-to-1 homework was a transformation, and we had this graph. This is number 2 in 5.2.1. So I'm giving you a couple different examples. We had -3, that was y. Okay, we had I think I can't tell what letter that is, G and M. Okay, and what we had to do for this, for number 2, you had to do a rotation of 90 degrees. Okay, so rotation of 90 degrees. And remember, we were doing this where we had a conversion where xy became the new conversion of negative yx. Okay, this is where we had for 90 degrees, 180, and 270, and we just had to memorize, or not memorize, we just had to keep this in mind because this is the conversion, how we adjust x and y to find the new prime location. Okay, so watch. This is where, for this, we need to set up a table. Okay, so we have the pre, we have the image, which is our prime after, we have our conversion, which we know we're going to convert. We're going to convert xy. We're going to convert it to negative yx. And we have our transformation that we're going to list here. So let's go ahead and list real quick because we're running out of time. This is at -3, 0. I'm just putting these points here, what they are. G is 0, -2. All right, so you might have to watch this later. I'm going to go quicker than I usually go. -3, -4. Okay. So here are our 3 points. Now our transformation we're going to accomplish is a rotation of 90 degrees. So this is where the conversion part comes. Okay. You're going to make a conversion with x and y, but look what happens. Whatever you have for x or y, the first point here ends up being negative y. So we take whatever y is and we put it in negative. We put the y value in here. So watch. This is how you'll convert all of them. Okay. You look to see, okay, where am I going? This is the conversion. I need to take whatever I had for y and put it in here, and it'll become negative, and whatever I had for x here. Okay, so that's what we're going to go about doing here. I'm going to put, instead of xy, I reconfigure it to be negative yx. So I take my y value as 0, I put it in here. Take the y value, which is -2, I put it in there. You see, I'm putting all the y values in first. 0, -2, -4. Because that's the new position of it. When I do a rotation of 90, this is what you have to use. The rotation for 180 is different. The rotation for 270 is different. Those are from the notes. You got to access those, okay? And then it looks like in the conversion, x just goes into the second position. So -3, 0, -3. Now my new image, y prime, is going to be just simplifying this. 0, -3. G prime is going to be just simplifying this. Negative, negative is +2. M prime is going to be, again, just simplifying this, 4, -3. So here are the new prime image. Those are the new prime values. So let's go ahead and find where they are. Y is at 0, -3. Excuse me, y prime. Okay, put it right there. G prime is at 2, 0. G prime. M prime is at 4, -3, right here, M prime. Okay, so we end up with this new image from our pre-image because we rotated it 90 degrees. This rotated right here. This rotated 90 degrees, G to G prime, right? This rotated 90 degrees, M to M prime. And this rotated 90 degrees, y to y prime. It's hard to visualize it, so you got to use the conversion factor. You set up a table with your pre-image, that was for my initial shape, what the transformation which informs my conversion. You convert them, setting it up in your new form and inputting the x and y as needed, and then that gives you your new prime image. And the prime image is what we just graphed right here. Okay, and then we're done. That's it. Okay, so this was number 2, 5.21. Go ahead and take a screenshot, and that is all for the video. Thanks for watching.